whole entire torture dungeon under his house, it horrifies me to think what he could have done to Sade just for the fun of it, just because he was sick and twisted. Another thing to note though, and this is just so horrific, Sade's head has never been found. Still, to this day, Maxwell has never offered up where it is, no matter how much Sade's family beg him. So, unfortunately, they've never had the closure of having all of her back to be able to lay her to rest. Her mom, Sheena, has written letters to Sade's killer in jail, just begging him to give over the location, give over any information so that she can bury all of her baby. She's also begged his family to try to speak to him and try to get through to him and convince him to give over this information, but still, he's never said a word. At this stage, Maxwell was being held without bail, waiting for his court date, and he was pleading not guilty. He wasn't prepared to go down for his crimes without traumatizing Sade's family through a trial. But while he waited for his trial, as soon as the police had done their investigation in his home, Max's family sold his house 2 months after the murder, before the case has even gone to trial. Maybe they wanted it gone and filled by someone else so that it couldn't keep being checked for evidence and worsening their son's case. Who knows? Maybe it was sinister. Or maybe it was to get the money to pay for his legal fees, which, mind you, would be quite expensive, because Maxwell was going to be working with an infamous lawyer known for getting people off who are clearly guilty of murder. This lawyer has managed to get his clients found not guilty, even when they have literally confessed to the crime, and even in cases where evidence is just overwhelming. And then in the case where they might still be found guilty, he manages to get them as little time behind bars as possible. Clearly at this point, he still has a level of confidence that he might be able to get off lightly or completely, but soon a witness testimony would appear that threw the whole case into a new light and absolutely screwed Maxwell's chances of being seen as anything other than a depraved, evil psycho killer that could well have turned into a serial killer. A confidential informant had brought themselves forward to the police because they believed that they had some very disturbing, yet very crucial information about Max and about this case. This person was one of Maxwell's friends that he had known for a few years, someone that he trusted, someone that he spoke quite freely around and clearly felt that he could voice some of his darkest desires in front of. This informant told the police that on the 5th of March 2024, that's a month before Sade's murder, he had gone over to Max's house to hang out, and that was when he first became aware of the existence of that torture dungeon in his basement. Max took him down there to show him around, and he was clearly very proud of everything that he had set up. I think at first he was kind of implying that its purpose was just for sex, but if that was the case, then why was the whole entire room covered in plastic tarp? Literally the whole entire thing. Not just the floors, but the walls, the ceiling, even lining the sink. He wasn't taking any chances. And that was when Max was actually honest with the friend about what this was all for. He just point blank told him that he had lined everything up down here because he is going to kill someone. He wanted to commit a thrill kill. He wanted to know what it would be like to murder someone, to take someone's life, and to try to get away with it. He had been thinking about this for some time, and not only that, he'd already chosen his victim. This young woman that he'd met about a month ago, Sade Robinson. His plan was to ask her on a date. He'd even anticipated that he might have to ask her a few times, thinking that Sade might initially say no to him. He told the friend that he would ask again and again and again until she agreed. He said that when she eventually said yes, he would take her out, they would have a few drinks, then he would bring her back to his place where he planned to murder her. His plan at this stage was to pull out one of his firearms while they were still upstairs, probably in the living room, and scare her, threaten her, into doing whatever he demanded. He would tell her to walk down to the basement, where he then planned to shoot her dead and chop up her body and scatter it all over the city. This is what he told his friend. According to that informant, Max was really matter of fact about the whole thing. There was no emotion attached at any point. And actually, let's just take it back a second, because I told you that his plan was to threaten her with a gun and get her to walk down into the basement herself. She would have seen everything that he had set up and laid out. She will have seen the Dexter-level dungeon down there, covered in plastic tarp and tools and weapons all around. She will have known immediately what kind of fate awaited her in her next moments. She will have been so scared. It's harrowing to think about what might have been going on in her head in those final moments. I can't imagine you'd have ever felt a fear like it in your life. Now, we do have to talk about this informant, by the way, because I genuinely can't believe that this man never went to the police after experiencing everything Max had just told and shown him. What do you mean you're standing in another man's basement that is covered in plastic tarp, lining the entire room? There are power tools laid out, saws, knives, guns. He's saying that he has a plan to kill that he is clearly putting into action right in front of you, and you don't go to the police immediately? A murderer could have been literally stopped in his tracks before he committed it. A death could have been prevented. A life could have been saved. But this man, this informant, just stood around and did nothing, only to eventually come to the police anonymously with his tail between his legs when he learned that Max had actually gone through with his plan. It's just so incredibly frustrating and heartbreaking to know that the outcome of this case could have been different. It never needed to become a case. For a whole year after Sade's death, different vigils and protests and celebrations of her life took place. Local residents had decorated their driveways with the colour pink to honour her. There were even plans to have a memorial made for Sade there in Milwaukee, but this was ultimately scrapped when the supervisors pulling it all together received an onslaught of abusive and racist emails. And Sade's own friends and family had been receiving this kind of senseless abuse this whole entire time. It's literally just pure evil at that point, as if this family hasn't gone through enough without facing this on top of grieving their loved one and finding out all of these awful, awful things that happened to her. And now they're having their plans ruined when they're just trying to honour their lost loved one. The way that Sade's family were treated in the aftermath of her case is truly devastating, but they never let that stop them from being vocal about her case and the changes that need to be made. Now that the memorial wouldn't go ahead, Sade's mother Sheena was looking for other ways to immortalise her daughter and let her legacy and her memory live on, changing the lives of others as it did. And so she set up a foundation named Sade's Voice. It's a non-profit organisation dedicated to providing support to the families of missing black women and girls. Starting with Wisconsin, Sade's Voice aims to build a whole world where every person, regardless of race or background, receives the right amount of attention and care to their case. It's so important to us here at Outlaw to use this platform to highlight the non-profit organisations that families of victims have set up to honour their loved one's legacy. It's such an inspiring display of strength, and it impresses me immensely every single time. I think it's such an incredible thing to do. And so the link to Sade's Voice Foundation will be below in the description. Please do take a look and learn about what they do, and if you have the means, a donation to their cause would go a long way for the safety of black girls in Wisconsin. Now, back to the case. Maxwell Anderson's murder trial began on the 28th of May 2025, and up until this point, he had refused to cooperate with investigators. And actually, that wasn't about to change at this point. I don't know why I said it like it was going to change. He refuses to give away any kind of motive, explanation, or reasoning for why he did what he did to Sade, which is the worst part of it all. It's one thing to not give information to investigators so they're struggling to solve the case, but it's a whole other level of evil to deny a grieving family any kind of closure or
Banjo's stacking up the value with its brand new triple stack range.
or answers. During the trial, it was revealed that Max had actually taken photos of Sade on his phone back at his house while she was either unconscious or even dead. It's not entirely clear what the context is, but what is clear is that Sade was not an active participant in what was happening to her in these photos. In one of them, Max has his hand on her right breast, and in the very next photo, he is holding her breast in his hand